The man then praised him for his intelligence, after which he was given a much larger share.
بسم الله. قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم الدعاء مخ الإبادة. The supplication is the essence of worship.
Broadcasting 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. This is Salam Radio.
This is Salam Radio at just after 5 p.m. on Thursday the 19th of December. Welcome to Community Matters, the radio show for all communities across Peterborough and beyond, with me, Adrian Holdstock. Community Matters asks questions that matter to our community life. Coming up on the show tonight, we have a serious look at the sort of addictions that are troubling our society and contributing to mental health problems. And later we're going to explore the creative art of rapping. But my first guest with me in the studio is Cade from Cambridge, known as KC. Welcome.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
You work in Cambridge helping people with addictions. What sort of organisation do you work for and what do they do?
Yeah, well, I work for the Sun Network, excuse me, and we work all over Cambridgeshire. Mm-hmm. So I travel around Peterborough and Cambridgeshire, and I meet people who have issues with substances, misuse, maybe drugs, alcohol, find out what their situation is, and mostly I signpost them toward the help that's available. And that help is either official help that has been put on by the government or unofficial help, informal, voluntary help. While finding out what help people need, I hear their needs, I hear their experiences, I hear their frustrations and the brick walls that they butt up against, and I feed that back to the commissioners who set up the services. So the commissioners are really interested in hearing what people's real experiences are like, and sometimes the people who are getting the help have the best ideas, and sometimes the professionals who've been working on it for years, sometimes they aren't aware of the same things that the users of their services have. So I bring out the ideas that service users have and get them implemented back in the services when possible.
I think that's great. I wasn't aware there was that sort of feedback loop to enable the authority that oversees the provision of services to learn from addicts themselves what really helps addicts.
Yeah, they call it co-creation, and it's a very popular idea that the people who've been through the process will understand not only what it's really like, but what's needed. And so it's a real partnership between the experts and the people who have real experience of the situations.
Now, I guess everyone will know someone who's addicted, or a personal story in their family or themselves. But just how serious a problem is addiction to our society?
I think it's very serious. Everyone, like you say, everyone knows someone that struggles with addiction. It destroys marriages, it destroys careers, it destroys people's lives. People die from addiction. So it's hugely serious. I know somebody personally who's experienced death of a relative just recently, and that was through their alcoholism. And So yeah, addiction is a huge problem, and the thing is, it's actually it's treatable. It's not, I wouldn't say curable in that you can't make it go away, but it is treatable, and it's actually preventable as well. Although it's not a idea that's argued over, but it is an idea that's not well known.
Now, that is really interesting, especially for people who've got young children growing up in today's society. The dangers of drugs being pushed, of people being able to get hold of alcohol very easily, or people browsing the internet and finding their way onto pornography. All of these are different types of addictions. And in your writings to me, you've mentioned addiction is a mental health condition. that has behavioural and scientific causes?
Yeah, so first of all, my view of mental health is, and I was just thinking about that this morning, I learned from someone the idea that mental health is not a flaw in our DNA. It's not a weakness that we were born with. I believe that maybe all mental health, or quite a lot of mental health, just my personal opinion, is actually caused by some sort of trauma. So we know that there's serious trauma, really shocking, horrible trauma that some people are subjected to. But even lesser traumas, when a baby is developing, it will have an effect on that baby's ability to function later. So if you took a baby and you, so this is an extreme example. If you took a baby and you put it in a dark room and never exposed it to light, for years that baby would grow having perfectly healthy optic nerve, having perfectly healthy physical resources to be able to see. But without the stimulation, the optic nerve and the brain connections to process light and to be able to see will never develop. So with no physical issues, a human being will never develop the ability to see without the right developmental environment. And so addiction is when certain environmental requirements of development of a baby, and they say it's within the first 3 years of life is where this is most important, even before birth in the womb. If certain things don't happen within those first 3 years of life, then a person is far, far more likely to become an addict than anything that will ever happen to them later in life. And what it means is we need to learn how to soothe ourselves as human beings. We need to learn how to handle how to regulate our emotions, and we need to learn how to say no. So these are a few of the examples of the things that a baby has no ability to soothe itself. I've heard it said that a baby will cry itself to death if it's allowed to. A baby has no ability to regulate its emotions, no ability to calm itself down, no ability to say no. But a parent will teach a baby how to do these things, not by sitting down and explaining it to them, not verbally, but by copying, by doing it for the baby. So a parent will calm the baby down by rubbing it, by soothing it, by talking to it nicely, calmly, until a baby is calmed. And then eventually, as a baby develops, they learn to calm themselves. But if a human being is not given that kind of assistance when it's developing, then an adult can be impaired in its ability to soothe itself, impaired in its ability to calm its own emotions, ability to process emotions, and even to say no. So these are some of the developmental things that have been found to be really key to someone being susceptible to addiction. And that's why it doesn't matter whether it's alcohol, whether it's a drug, whether it's gambling, whether it's pornography. Addiction is one thing, and addiction just happens to express itself in a number of different ways. So I don't believe that someone's an alcoholic, but they have no weakness to anything else, because it's just how their addiction expresses itself that's different.
So you're explaining that addiction is an environmental situation as opposed to something that a particular person or a particular group of people are more likely to see. So it would be wrong for me to say that people who are poorer are more likely to become addicted.
Interesting. It's true that people who are poor are more likely to be addicted, but not because of the environment. But because of the environment, not because of DNA. So poverty means someone is less likely to be soothed, less likely to be nurtured, less likely to be safe from trauma. So because traumas can make someone susceptible to addiction, and not being soothed, not being nurtured, not being given a certain kind of emotional care that someone needs. Those are the two things that are most likely to make someone an addict. And so poverty is a huge problem. If we as a nation wanted to prevent addiction, we would need to put money and effort and energy into reducing poverty and helping parenting, really.
Aye, yes. Now, you were telling me earlier about somebody that appeared to be homeless and very gaunt and thin, and at the bottom edge of society. and yet that's not how he was when he came into addiction.
Yes, I mean, if you was to go to an area where homeless people were, you would probably find a lot of alcoholism, a lot of drug addiction. Drug addiction is very common with homelessness, and it's not hard to figure out. If someone can't stay warm and can't stay safe, they need something to numb the pain and to cope with the fear of the unknown that they're living with. So it's not that it's not that homelessness causes addiction, but it's not that addiction causes homelessness, but homelessness does lead someone to become more susceptible to addiction. And it's not that someone who's rough and gaunt and looks like they are on the edge of society is an addict because of being on the edge of society. No, the addiction has stripped them of their self-respect. It's stripped them of their money. It's stripped them of their place in society. It's lumbered them with shame. And so they end up looking like somebody who is on the edge rather than it being what caused them to do it.
And you were telling me a story earlier about somebody from a very wealthy middle-class family.
Yeah. This guy who I saw, who I met in a recovery group, he looked like a homeless guy. That's maybe not a politically correct way of saying it, but I know a lot of homeless guys that I'm good friends with, and this guy looked like one of them. But he came up from a very wealthy family. He had very wealthy parents, and all of the parents' all of their money and all of the things that come with money was not able to help him. I believe that when he was developing as a baby, some things happened that made him less able to cope with decision making, with soothing, and with those things that I mentioned earlier. So yes, addiction does happen across the board of people who are poor and people who are rich, but the people who are poor have less resources to defend themselves against it. There's another story. When I was working in volunteering in the drug and alcohol services, I was doing assessments, and this gentleman came in. Excuse me. He was smartly dressed as you are, very smartly dressed. And he told me his address in Cambridge, which was a very posh street, very fancy street that I'm never going to live on that street. I'm sure he has a very nice car, because he tells me he travels to Silicon Valley several times a year as part of his job. So he moves and shakes and he rubs elbows with the likes of Facebook and YouTube, Google, all those IT giants. But he had come in for an assessment because he couldn't control his drinking. He was afraid that he was going to lose everything. So this is a guy who doesn't look like what you would think an addict would look like. But he, with all of his intelligence and all of his skills and all of his success in life, he couldn't stop drinking, and he had to come in and get some expert help.
But that's a really big step for somebody to overcome that shame, that sense of dishonour, that sense of guilt and fear of what will other people think of him.
Yeah, I mean, fortunately, society is changing in its attitude toward, for example, alcoholism. When AA started back in, I think it was in the 30s or something in the U.S. before the war, if someone was an alcoholic, they were assumed to be a reprobate. They were assumed that it was a weakness of moral character, a weakness of determination and of ethics, and it was seen as someone's own fault. Nowadays, we've heard it said enough, we've seen it in society enough that we know there's this thing called alcoholism, and sometimes someone who's an alcoholic needs to not drink, and people respect that. But there's still a huge amount of shame in drug addiction, which really is just the same thing as alcoholism. It's just another expression of it. And you're right, for someone to walk into that place that has been set up to help people with drug addiction, they have to face and overcome a huge amount of shame and a huge amount of stigma. And I can say that people who work in these places, there's Aspire is in Peterborough, is the drug and alcohol services. The people who work there, they know about addiction and they care about addicts and they really want to help people, and they will immediately put them at ease and help them to feel like they've made the right decision to come in. They aren't alone. They're not the only one who struggles with this, which is a wonderful thing to hear, and they can be understood. But you can go into a place where there are people who know about addiction recovery, and it's a beautiful thing to feel like someone understands what you're going through.
So there's the Alcoholics Anonymous and their 12-step program for helping people recover.
Yeah.
Is there something similar for people who are addicted to drugs?
There is. There's the idea that people bound around us is pretty much a 12-step group for anything you can think of. There are several 12-step groups for drugs. There's Narcotics Anonymous, one of the most popular and the most well-established. There's Cocaine Anonymous. There's Cannabis Anonymous, or is it called Marijuana Anonymous? You'd have to Google it to be sure. There is, and these are, and then Alcoholics Anonymous, which is the first. Then there's behavioral addictions. There's Gambling Anonymous. There's Overeaters Anonymous. There's Workaholic Anonymous. There's several groups for sex addiction, which is a very controversial topic. But the thing I would like to say about the 12-step programs is that many people have the misconception that the 12-step programs are religious. People have heard that they talk about serenity prayer, or they talk about praying, and they think, well, that's not for me. So many people tell me, oh, AA's not for me, 12-step's not for me. But actually, they are not religious programs. They are actually spiritual programs. But they are programs where you can come in and you can join in and you can try out what they have to offer with no pressure to believe anything and no pressure to adhere to any dogma or any beliefs. So I know atheists who found the 12-step program have helped them to stay sober very, very effectively, and they are respected and they are welcomed as atheists. But they are brothers alongside other addicts who might be Muslims or Buddhists or Christians. So what people have in common is their desire to recover, and they have learned that they practice a very strong ethic of accepting each other because they've felt enough judgment outside the rooms. They felt enough stigma in society that they all band together and support each other. And a religion and faith is something that people are very respectful of each other about. So I would one thing I would really like people to consider and to take away is if you tried a 12-step meeting, I believe you will not find any judgment, and you will find that people understand what you're going through, and you will find that there is no pressure in any direction to do with religion. It's a place where you can find your own path, you can find your own way, and there's no expectation and requirement for anyone to believe any one particular thing.
I've encountered people who describe themselves as recovering alcoholics. They might have been off alcohol for a few months or several years, but they still identify that there is that weakness. Now, it's not a weakness of moral fibre, it's not a weakness of will, it's something to do with brain chemistry.
Yeah, the 12-step describes it. The AA way of seeing it is that it's a disease. It's an allergy. It's an allergy. So if I took a drink of alcohol, I might feel something. I might react in a certain way. I might get drunk, but I would move on with my day. I might even drink a lot, but I would still move on with my week. But the idea that AA believes, or what they suggest, because nothing in AA is doctrine, it's all just suggestions. But the idea they suggest is that an alcoholic is someone who has an allergy, and if they take a drink, then they will have no choice but to take another drink. That once they start drinking, they will end up drinking until they are in a position they don't want to be in. So that's why they would say that they are in recovery, is because they are actively practicing what they have to do to make sure that they're spiritually fit, or they're confident and strong enough not to need to take a drink. Because the idea is once someone takes one drink as an alcoholic, then they're on a slippery slope to get back into the destruction that they really didn't want to get into.
And what is brain science now discovering about addictions?
This is something that I was trying to get my head around, and I just came across a really helpful video of it the other day. So let me see if I can explain what I've just learned. So you've heard of dopamine, right? So dopamine has the sound dope in it, like drugs, but it's actually a naturally occurring chemical in our brain. So whenever something happens and we feel good, our body releases dopamine. And it's a naturally occurring thing to get us to do things that are good for us to do again. So maybe we were cavemen and we didn't have access to very much fat and high, calorie food. So we would have a dopamine hit when we had something that was a really good, pleasurable meal, so that it would help us to be able to find that meal again. And the way that happens is that when dopamine is released in our body from a good feeling of like having a really good bit of food, the dopamine goes into our brain and it finds the certain connectors, certain places. So there's dopamine receptors that receive the dopamine in the part of our brains that specifically deal with certain things like decision making, focusing our minds, our motor functions, and our memory. So if bringing it to the modern times, if I was to eat a really nice piece of chocolate, my favorite is Reese's peanut butter cups. All right, so if I have a Reese's peanut butter cup, dopamine is released in my brain and flooded through, and it connects into the dopamine receptors where I do decision making. So I might think, I think that was a really good decision making, eating that piece of chocolate. Maybe I'm going to eat another bite. And then it focuses me. So the dopamine receptors link into the part of my brain that does focus. So I will focus on this experience, and I will also, there's dopamine receptors where memory happens. So I'll remember this experience. I'll remember the slightly brownish orange package of the chocolate. I'll remember which newsagent I went into to get it. I'll remember which aisle the package was on, where I found it. All these things lock in to help us to be able to recreate an experience that was pleasurable. And it works the same for sex, so that human beings will procreate and so the human species doesn't die out. All the same dopamine functions kick in with sex as they do with chocolate. And these same functions are used for when we get drunk with alcohol, if we have a susceptibility to alcoholism. And they would have the same effects if we were addicted to work or if we were addicted to drugs. So this is some of the brain chemistry that is linked into addiction, and why addiction is really complicated and it's really difficult. It's not a simple thing to fix.
So it sounds as if it's a natural process of the way that we're made as human beings, but it's when we allow it to get out of control, or when, as you say, as very young children, as babies, we're not nurtured in the best of ways. And to quote one of your notes here, childhood is the ideal time for the wiring to be laid down, and addicts miss out on some of the key wiring.
Absolutely. Yeah. So the studies have shown that addicts' brains are 15% smaller in the part of the brain that does decision making. So if you imagine, if I had 15% less gray matter where I was making my decisions, I might be 15% less able than you to walk past that chocolate when my brain is locked in and remembering it and activated and really hyped up. So yes, we have natural, normal processes that do a really good function, but they can go awry if we have some things that go wrong in development.
But it's not the end of the world for somebody who's found themselves addicted. They can get help and support in many ways from many different organisations. Yes.
I would say that the first thing to do for addiction, if someone says, I've got a problem and I can't control it, is to get some help, is to get some professional or some expert help. So you've got your 12-step groups. You could Google the words that you think are related, that you have struggles with, whether it's alcohol or drugs, and you could Google the word anonymous after it. And again, in Peterborough, there's Aspire Peterborough. You could ring them up and you could drop in and see them. But going to find some other people, because addiction all comes down to isolation. So something about addiction pushes us to isolate. And so an alcoholic might be sitting in a room on their own, just drinking and not interested in anything else, because it perpetuates and it gets worse. But the solution to addiction, I believe, is connections and bonding. Right. So to get out of your own isolated existence and to go and to find some other people who've walked a little further than you, that's really where it's at. Yeah. And so to get some help where you could find some connections and you can find a new way of coping with your pain, with your emotions, with your urges, that's really what recovery's
And if we know someone who's addicted, it's encouraging them to become involved in that connection and that relationship.
Yes, but you can't force it.
I know.
You can point them in the right direction, but sometimes it's years before people are ready to do the work.
What about if there are parents or like myself, grandparents who have young children and babies in the family? What should we be looking out to build good wiring and prevent this propensity to become addicted?
One of the things that I love the most is a thing called attunement. Attunement is when a parent looks in the eyes of the baby and communicates non-verbally that they see them, that they understand them, that they get them, that they're not alone. I think that's a beautiful thing to imagine a parent gazing into the eyes of a baby even before it can even talk. And there's something about attunement that can be a real help to build that foundation, to build those connections in a baby. And it can be used in a child. We can do it with each other. So knowing that someone's not alone is the real key.
So care for them, but to show them you care for them and show them the love, the bonding that should be there. Yeah. Wow, the time has flown by. Cade from Cambridge, thank you so very much for sharing this information, this vital information about addiction, how we can prevent it at a very young age, and how we can treat it, and it is possible to overcome, but with help. Yes. Thank you very much for coming on the show tonight.
And thank you for having me.
We're coming to the end of this half of the show. Big thank you to Casey for sharing with us, and just invite you to stay tuned as to after the break we're going to hear about rapping.
Stay tuned to Salam Radio after this short ad break.
Where can you get high quality and low prices? Amar Food Store and Halal Meat in Lincoln Road, Triangle is the place to go. Pay us a visit and take advantage of our special offers and great range of products on groceries, vegetables, fruits and halal meat. Also send money to Pakistan absolutely free. We have all top brands at special offers, offer free customer parking and provide a free local delivery service. Amar Food Store and Halal Meat, 613B Lincoln Road, Peterborough. Call us on 01733 687 374. High in quality, low in prices.
Almarad Tiles. With over 70 stores nationwide, we are now open in Peterborough. Up to 50% discount offers now on. Largest selection of tiles. Full bathroom suites from only £189. Paint, LED lighting, laminate flooring from only £7.99. Over 1,000 designs of wallpaper in stock. We have everything you need. Come and visit us at 193 Fengate, Peterborough, PE1 5BH, or call us on 01733 34 58 47. Almarad Tiles, now open.
Had a car accident or an accident at work? Accident specialists are experts in no-win, no-fee accident claims. Leave the hassle to us. Our multilingual settlement experts will manage the entire claims process on your behalf, with nothing to pay up front. We provide services such as credit hire, taxi vehicles, recovery, storage and much more. For full details on our range of services and a free consultation, call us on 01733 555 774. Or visit our office at 249 Lincoln Road opposite the NatWest Bank. Accident Specialists. Start your successful claim today.
There's a million choices available for dining out in Leeds.
But if you want something special, there's only one name to remember.
Mumtaz Leeds.
Relax in our newly refurbished Riverside restaurant.
Enjoy exquisite home cooking from our brand new menu. Upgrade to the Mumtaz Leeds experience.
And the price? Well, we're better value than ever before.
Mumtaz Leeds, Chadwick Street, Leeds, LS10 1PJ. Call 0113 242 4211.
Free car parking available.
अगर मूड हो मुस्तनद और मायारी देसी खाने का तो आजमाएं लिंकन रोड पर देसी रेस्टोरेंट। दिन का आगाज देसी नाश्ते के साथ हलवा पूरी, चने, निहारी, पाए, पराठा और आमलेट हर रोज सुबह 7 बजे से दिन 1 बजे तक। एक मजेदार और स्वादिष्ट लंच के लिए कबाब, सैंडविच, तंदूरी डिशेस, बल्ती डिशेस, बिरयानी और बहुत कुछ। दिन 1 बजे से शाम 5 बजे तक हमारी खास डिशेस, देसी तवा या हमारी ताज़ा हांडी, 1 kg बेबी चिकन, लैम का गोश्त हड्डी के साथ। ऑर्डर पर तैयार कराएं। ईट इनसाइड, टेक वे के लिए फ्री डिलीवरी। पूरा मेन्यू देखने के लिए और ऑनलाइन ऑर्डर करने के लिए हमारी वेबसाइट पे जाएं desirestaurant.co.uk। 60 नशिस्तों की गुंजाइश के साथ और एक प्राइवेट फंक्शन रूम, कैटरिंग सर्विस भी दस्तयाब। डोंट फॉरगेट देसी रेस्टोरेंट, 298 लिंकन रोड, पीटरब्रो, PE1 2ND। कॉन्टैक्ट नंबर 555795।
Broadcasting 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. This is Salam Radio.
Welcome back to Salam Radio on 106.2 FM and online at salamradio.co.uk. This is Adrian Holdstock presenting Community Matters, the radio show for all communities in Peterborough and beyond. We've another guest with me in the studio who's here to talk about a number of things in the field of creative arts. It's Xidus Pain. Welcome.
Hi.
Hi.
Thank you for having us on the show.
Yeah, you're very welcome. First of all, can you tell us about your new project? And I believe it's called Pumulani. What does that mean?
Pumulani is Shona, which is like a African language, and basically it means laid back, relaxed, tranquil, and that's my middle name.
Oh,
so
gosh,
yeah.
So you've grown up in that style, have you? Laid back and relaxed, and
yeah, it's weird. Like I am that, like, and it was given to me when I was like a baby. So,
but what's the project?
The project is it's basically like a soulful rap album. It has a mixture of like boom bap, which are like kind of old school beats, and new school soulful beats as well. And it's a positive, uplifting project, which I always like to do, like because there's a lot of negative, so I always put in the positive. And it's basically just about my roots of the art craft. On the front cover, there's which was done by a good friend of mine, Prin Marshall, who's an artist, and it depicts roots coming out of the ground, and they're wrapped up around my microphone and speakers and myself, meaning that my music is the core, and it comes from like nature and like, you know, it's got like a metaphor behind that as well as the name.
And what inspires you when you're sitting there thinking, what am I going to write? What am I going to say?
Life,
yeah.
And people around me, the creator, like, because that's what in my vision, like in what I see, we were all made to create, like, as in no matter what you do, like you're an artist, you're a singer, like vicar,
yes,
like you like create, as in like you either create a vibe around people, or you create arty stuff. So
are you the words man? What about the music? Where does that come from?
I have several different producers that I work with. There's loads, so they inspire me as well. And I've done a bit of production. I'm gonna like dabble more in that, like, for next year. But I've several producers, like too many to name.
So I believe we have a track here called Golden Child.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's never been played on live radio before.
No, it hasn't. It's just like, you got the.
So Salam Radio gets to play your track from your album Pulamarni. Let's listen to that now.
Thank you.
Hey, nice balance. Do you know where you're going? Yeah. world goes by. I know I must trust the process right. The law of attraction, we are a magnet. Yeah, it works magic. What you think you can have, you will attract it. Happy, I'll happily act it until I can grab it. In my mind I'm living it lavish, creating the classics. I gotta be savage and cause damage. Your favourite artist gets writer's block while George managed to write 200 songs with the Lord's balance. Pen spiller, blue still, Ben Stiller. Hot rhymes, a penciler. Do you know where you're going, yeah, and where you been? If you know, then you know, yeah, that's everything. Do you know where you're going, yeah, and where you been? If you know, then you know, yeah, that's everything. Do you know where you're going, yeah, and where you been? If you know, then you know, yeah, that's everything. Do you know where you're going, yeah, and where you been? If you know, then you know, yeah, that's everything. Get high, take flight. You love it, it's life, you're loving it right. Put a lot of love in your life. We love living, though some are living to die. Like Marty, I'm living McFly. Relax, tranquil, working the angles. Hurting samples from what I'm spitting from mouth. Never hoard, I'm getting this out. Sharing my craft, I ain't letting you down. I'm making you proud, whether we're found, or you're just another face in the crowd. You're facing this now, I'm going the rounds. I shan't throw in the towel, like the golden child. I'm glowing right now, I'm glowing right now. The golden child, the golden child, yeah. I'm glowing right now. The golden child, I'm glowing right now.
This child is special, Mr. Jarrell. His destiny is to save the world.
That's a good destiny.
Do you know where you're going, yeah, and where you've been? If you know, then you know, yeah, that's everything. Do you know where you're going, yeah, and where you've been? If you know, then you know, yeah, that's everything. Do you know where you're going, yeah, and where you've been? If you know, then you know, yeah, that's everything. Do you know where you're going, yeah, and where you've been? If you know, then you know, yeah, that's everything.
Oracle predicted that the Gompantama, that is Tibetan for golden child, would be taken to the new city, the city of the angels, and would be rescued by a man who is no angel.
And who's that?
You, Mr. Jarrell.
Yeah, right. Okay. I'm in the middle of a basketball game, although I'd love to stay and chat with you.
Wow, how so different. Golden Child from your album called Pumalani. Can people access that? Can they get hold of that?
Yeah, it's on Bandcamp. So if you type in Xidus Pain and Bandcamp, all my projects that I've done this year will come up. And it will be on Spotify soon as well, and all like major streaming sites.
And I loved the way in which you described your creativity as being about being positive and happiness and so on.
Yeah.
I don't know if you heard any of our previous guests. We were talking about addictions and the mental health challenges that cause people to fall into addiction. And I know that you like to think of the creative arts as being something to help overcome mental health problems.
Yeah, definitely. Like a few years back, I worked for a company called Squeaky Gate, and it was Sid Barrett from Pink Floyd. His sister started it up, set it up in Cambridge, where he's from, and yeah, it was basically helping people with mental health issues through rap and or any other music. But I was a tutor there using rap. And yeah, I felt I learned a lot because we had a lot of training to deal with certain people, because there were people that had schizophrenia and depression, and they were dealing with a lot. But just by allowing them to express themselves, they'd come back, like, and you could see the difference it was making.
Right.
Yeah, they felt more so as part of society. They felt they were contributing. So I do see the value in rap.
So you were helping people to find a way to communicate.
Yeah, and express
in
themselves.
normal society and conversation and writing and so on, they weren't able to. But in rap, they found there's something
Yeah, with raps, it's like instant gratification. So like, if me and you were had like a half an hour workshop, we could do something within that workshop, like have you rapping, but obviously you'd be doing it at a beginner level, like unless you do it. Like I'm not saying you
I
don't
know.
Hopefully you can today as well, or you will. But yeah, it's that's the beauty of it, because not everyone feels they can sing. But with that, it's just talking, isn't it? Rhythmical poetry, talking, and yeah.
I do actually, behind the scenes, I don't know how many people know this, but I do write poetry. But I need to sit down very quietly with a blank sheet of paper, and it takes me a long time to get it right the way I want it. And I always I admire rapping because it seems to be so instantaneous. I don't know, is it something that you've thought a lot about, or can you just bring it off the top of your head?
Yeah, all of the above. It's like I feel like everyone can sit down and write something, but it's a blessing to be able to freestyle, like, which is improvised. Like I can, I'm blessed enough to be able to do that. Like I can improvise, make songs like within seconds.
Gosh.
Or real time.
Yeah. Wow.
Like, yeah.
I think we're going to hear something freestyle rapping towards the end of our show.
From you.
Will you do that?
You can.
From me, no.
Yeah. Yeah. This is actually a setup. We want you to rap.
Gosh. Well, you'd better start teaching me then.
I will.
Let's explore one or two of the other areas of life that you're involved with. We've mentioned Hip Hop Love in Haiti. What's that about?
There's a guy called Rene John Sandy. He runs the organisation Hip Hop Love, and basically they're putting together a project on which is helping the people in Haiti, and to highlight all the natural disasters and all the things that are happening, and the money from the project will go to them, and setting up workshops and hands-on, because Rene's he's really hands-on with what he does. Like he's based in New York, but at the minute he's in Rio working with young kids there. And yeah, I feel like so blessed and really happy. I've been on cloud 9 that he asked me to be part of the project, because, like, you know, there's people like Snoop Dogg on the project, De La Soul, like legendary rappers, and then there's me from Peterborough, which is nice. Like, and then I got to do a song with Sheena Easton, a guy called Michael McDonald. He's like, you know, these people like my parents listen to, and I have some of their vinyl, and I was like, what, for real? He's like, yeah, we want you on the song. So I was really happy, and it has gospel singers on there, Peebo Bryson. So, but it's all for a good cause, you know. That's why I thought I'd lend my vocals to it. And, yeah.
Now, another activity and an area of life that you're involved with is helping to keep young people safe, getting over this scourge of society at the moment of knife crime with young people.
Yeah, I want to put together some projects for next year. So if anyone listening has like any youngsters within their household that are interested in rap or grime or drill, whatever, or any type of music, and you feel like you'd want them to be part of something positive, then yeah, just let us know. Because we're putting together a positive project with the young people within Peterborough. And I just don't want any like you can, like, I thought for the project you can, because everyone's been through tough times, so you can highlight the tough times, but then look forward. Like, you know, let people know your story, but where are you going? Like, and positive affirmations are really cool. So I wanted to work on a project like that, and plus it helps keep young people off the streets, and they'll be working within a studio environment, and it also shows that there's there's alternative jobs, like, because my job technically is made up in my head, because like I go into schools and talk about rapping, but then there's more in it: inclusive learning, embedded functional skills within it. Like it's a positive thing and it's a good thing. So, and I just wanted to highlight that not all new music, drill or grime or everything has to be focused solely on killing and hurting people. Yeah.
Oh, that's really wonderful, and to draw young people together, and to give them an experience where they gain confidence, they gain self-awareness.
Yeah.
They recognise that they work in harmony with other people.
And self-worth, because a lot of a lot of people have been telling them no, or you're not good enough, or you're not this, you're not that, and that's why my teaching methods are different. Like, you know, if someone seems like they're trying to disrupt the lesson, I'll make something out of that disruption and make it into something creative. That's what helps being a freestyler within the job I do. Like loads of people can go to schools and talk about rapping and but then when it comes to engaging and turning something, like, you know, like one I think it was an inside joke at a school I was working in, and he kept going egg, but we were talking about society, and then I said, yeah, an egg is like the yolk of society, break it down, and then made something out of that, and then it just shocked him, and he was just like, oh yeah, and then the young person just had his head down, and he played on that whole metaphor of an egg, but it was disruptive. I could have said, look, mate, come on, stop, like, or told his teacher to take him out, but then just that, see the difference with like,
there's something about the way you connected with him.
Yeah. And that's what we lose when we connect with young people, because it's like almost because we're frustrated, but like I just try and be laid back, like my name, and just chilled and look for the little gaps and try and read them between the lines of what they're saying.
Or we expect them to behave in the ways that suit us, or to speak the language that we understand, and we try and we project that onto them. Whereas what you seem to be able to do is just to read them where they're at and get that communication going and draw them close to you through that.
Yeah, because it's like we're all the same, aren't we? Like emotionally, we all have the same emotions. Therefore, like if I treat them with respect, because they're human, we're all human, like and not like I'm better or bigger than them when I come into the school, like then it's like a level-headed respect thing, and that's how I see it. Yeah.
So this freestyle rapping, can't really imagine how it's going to work. I've got a track here that we've downloaded, which is do I imagine that's going to be backing music for it?
Yeah, it will be. I'll just like because a few people have given me words to include in it, so they know that it's made up on the spot. I like having words. It's almost like I don't know if you ever saw Whose Line Is It Anyway, and they're given props, and then they have to make something out of the props. So I like having words with like in front of me, but like I like seeing the words just there and then. So then I can include the words, and then
well, I've got one or two words I might suggest if you've not had them already. Because it's Salam Radio's station manager, Michelle. It's her birthday today.
Okay.
So we've got to get Michelle happy birthday in there somehow.
I'll definitely. I think someone did mention that.
Right.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, good.
They did.
Okay.
But because I put my phone on airplane mode because I didn't want it to go off. But I'll get the ones that people have inboxed me. And if you could pass me like them flyers or things to do that are within.
So this is from the City College, Peterborough, offering free training,
if you pop
preparing people to work in adult social care.
Yes, I'll pop it on there, and that one as well. and then the more the merrier.
This is free refugee entrepreneur course.
Okay.
Ah.
Yeah, it's like almost like my little workstation now.
Ah.
Right.
We're seeing creativity happen before our eyes here. Just a few notes in a notebook, a couple of brochures.
Right. Is there anything else you'd like to add, like personally? Or like
A peaceful Christmas to everyone. And if we can show some love and care for the homeless in Peterborough.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So, how does it work now?
Is Sister Michelle gonna come in to pop the...
Michelle, are you going to do your Instagram bit as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and you can just play the music if you want.
All
it's
right.
It's quite a short one.
Yeah, it's a 2-minute track.
Yeah.
So here we go with the music and a freestyle rap from Xidus.
Yeah. It's a freestyle rap for me today. Yeah, gonna do this in my way. Yeah, and set it off just like that. Yeah, I formulate it, it's my rap, all from the top of the mind. Watch me now, work it like the academy, that's how. Would you like to work in the health and care sector? Then if you do, this will reflect where to go, where to stay, what to do. And you can ask them anyway, it will be helping in social care. And I'm Xidus Pain, I'm socially aware. Please, I see the entrepreneurship course for the refugees is free. And you can come and get it. I keep it lit like that, like the emoji with the flame. I said it, put it back. I'm heavy, Xidus Pain, yo. On top of the cake, I'm the cherry. Yeah, you can't test this right now. Listen to all the listeners. I wish you all a peaceful Christmas. And whatever you celebrate or do, make sure there's love in there too. I mean, love for the homeless and love for all. Yeah, we can create something from small to be bigger. I'm about to do it right now. Xidus, the mic I injure. Yo, and show you what I'm about to go through. I do this well, and I say happy birthday to Michelle, who's filming right now. Yeah, I said it swell. And Adrian, I want to thank you for having me on the show, cause that's the way it go, and that's the way it go. It's the Thursday, hit it in the worst way. Got my water just in case I'm thirsty. Yeah, you heard me, I don't need to rehearse this now. It's all from the G.O.D. up above. I'm proud of who I am, who I be, what I say. I'm the creator, so let me create. Yeah, and help the youth, cause they're the truth. This world belongs to them, me and you. The instrumental's through. I was just getting into it then. But yeah.
Wow. That was fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
When we play that back, which we shall, just to see how mature and yeah, I can see the talent that's there. And in your rap teaching, you're able to draw that out of other people.
Yeah, because it's sharing a passion, isn't it? And yeah, just helping people express themselves. So, and yeah.
Do you know, we've got a little time. Would you do one more?
Could you?
Oh, could I?
Yeah. You said you write poems.
Well,
do you have a favourite that you could share with myself?
I have a terrible memory.
Really?
Yes.
What's your poetry about, though?
It's usually Bible stories.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
But I never remember it. I just have to write it down and then read it off. Yeah. I'm going to go home and shut the door and see if I can rap. But I'm a sort of guy that just needs to practice it before I could do it live on air.
Yeah, I always practice.
Yeah.
yeah. I have to practice.
Now that's interesting because you make it look as if you can just do it, whereas it's like good musicians and singers. They always behind the scenes practice.
Yeah, I've been practicing for like many years. I do it when I'm walking down the street, even through town. People must think I'm talking to myself. I mutter under my breath, and then I'm coming up with songs. Like I challenge myself. So if I'm walking to the studio, I'll try and write a song before I get there, and then record it when I get there. Stuff like that, because it's fun for me. Like therefore, like I can't be blocked because it's always within me, installed. Yeah,
it's fantastic. I really identify with your concept that we're made to create. I mean, in my Christian faith, we talk about we're made in the image of God, and if God is creator, then we are creators of poetry, music, whatever.
And words are powerful, aren't they? Because
absolutely,
we're made of 70% water or 80, and like. Waves and everything, sound waves move water.
Indeed.
So what we say, we should be careful what we say, because it's kind of like self-affirming, isn't it?
Indeed.
And
Exodus, we've come to the end of our show, and thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
And doing a live rap and sharing the golden earlier on. We're coming up to a Christmas break next Thursday. So the next time we're on air is in the new year. But meanwhile, from me, it's salam, shalom, namaste, and the peace of God to you all. Good night.
You're listening to Salam Radio, and it's now time for Isha Azan. This Azan